Meanwhile, in blatant pandering news,
President Biden is having a really tough time these days winning independent voters over on the economy and on the border. So he's trying to see if his political fortunes improve if he just forgives some more federal student loan debt. Look at what he's done so far. $146 billion in student debt canceled for 4 million Americans, but he wants to cancel $10,000 to $20,000 of interest payments for more than 25 million additional Americans. But that kind of government spending could cause interest rates to rise above 8%. It could cause inflation to rise alongside them, and it could endanger a so-called soft landing for the economy, according to Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan's CEO.
Peter Ducey of Fox News there.
Oh, okay, fine. But even if it doesn't cause inflation or any other economic problems, it's a terrible, terrible policy.
Oh, yeah. I could explain to you the ins and outs of who gets what, but it's essentially if you've made your payments, you get the relief. If you haven't made most of your payments, you get relief. If you've made your payments but not paid the interest, or you've never made a payment, or you made one payment, then skipped two, then made three in a row, you get relief. It's just ridiculous, and you'd forget it the moment it came out of my mouth.
And
it's just blatant pandering.
And here's my favorite part of it. They're going to relieve the student loan debt, that is, take other people's money and pay off these debts, for people who haven't even applied. Even if you haven't applied. So even if you're the sort of person that, for whatever reason, doesn't think this is right, and you don't apply, government's still going to relieve your student loan debt. So that they can say how many dollars worth they relieved and how many people they affected.
Right, exactly. It's reminiscent of the unbelievably naked maneuver Gavin Newsom of Cal Unicornia pulled before the last election, where he just sent out, there's COVID excess funds or something. Here's a few grand from Uncle Gavin. Hey, and don't forget to go to the polls. I mean, it was straight out of like Tammany Hall, New York. And this is similar. They're using the pretext of student loans, not credit cards, not car loans, not mortgages, not you borrowed $20 from your Uncle Vinny, just student loans for some reason. We're going to spend trillions of dollars to give away, to give you money.
As I've said 50 times before, coming out of the progressives, this is the least progressive policy I've ever seen in my lifetime. It is making the hardworking dude or woman in a kitchen at a restaurant who didn't go to college send money to college kids who are going to be just fine.
Yeah.
And
they made decisions that they have to live with.
Right, and a number of the things that the president said yesterday. There are people out there that owe more than they borrowed. They're upside down. Yeah, I've been upside down on loans too. I made a bad decision, and the loans were spread out too far, and I was upside down. Yeah, I've done that before myself.
Yeah.
Man, I learned a lesson about it, too. They had a guy on NBC News last night there walking with, Jim Johnson has been paying on his student loans for 15 years. I feel like I may never get out from underneath this debt. Yeah, well, maybe you shouldn't have taken out such a giant loan. But now he'll be able to blah, 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 blah. And I wish they'd ask him where he went to school. I'd like to know, did you go to a really expensive school? Did you go to your dream school as opposed to a cheaper school? Why the hell would I pay for you making that decision?
Yeah, well, and with all due respect to Jim and his bad decision-making, the fact that the government, in cahoots with the university industrial complex, a phrase that is now officially, I think, beaten to death, but it is a giant for-profit industry, colleges and universities. There are millions of people making huge salaries. Now, they might not pencil in a profit at the end of the year on their taxes, but there are many people profiting mightily from the system where the government sells 18-year-olds and their parents on the idea of, hey, these are great low-interest loans. College is a ticket to wealth anyway. You'll pay them back with these. The money goes to their cronies who vote Democrat 100% of the time, and then kids who made bad decisions at age 18 or whatever, and their parents, if their parents are involved, get stuck with payments they can't afford. I think they're the answer is not for my tax dollars to be confiscated and given to somebody else, obviously. But I think you need to go to the root of the scam to really understand what's going on and to attack it. For the thousandth time, why does nobody discuss the incredible, exorbitant cost of college during this conversation?
Well, right, and all that you just said is going to be made worse by bailing out the college kids, not better.
Correct.
It's going to send it the other direction. Now colleges can charge even more with the belief that the government will come bail these people out eventually, the government being the taxpayer. If there's only one thing that they taught in high school, I mean, they don't teach one other thing. I'd be happy with the one thing that they teach is nobody gets out of school without fully understanding, have it hammered in their head that all government money is taxpayer money. If he just came out with that one thing, I'd be happy.
Yeah, I love that idea. It's almost as if they've come up with a drug that counteracts the effects of gross overeating and chain smoking. If they had a drug that said, you can go ahead, do you think you'd get more overeating and chain smoking or less? Obviously, you'd get more. Well, these sorts of giveaways are absolutely a way to avoid the reckoning with the root problem, which is that the university system is just a cash-gobbling hog.
I hate this from the standpoint that it's just incredibly unfair to take my tax money and give it to people who made a financial decision that they now no longer like. That's not my problem. But if you get into the particulars of why it galls you, like I went to an inexpensive college that was affordable on purpose. Yeah. Lots of people did and don't have loans and are paying for the people that decided to go to the expensive college. But God, if I was a parent who altered my life greatly to be able to pay for my kids to go to school, I would be spitting nails right now. Like I know a guy who lived a modest lifestyle, put all 3 daughters through college, told them when they were young he'd pay for them to go to college. If they, they stuck with their school, blah, 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 graduated, he'd pay for the whole thing, and he did. Nothing for him. In fact, he's paying now. So he paid those 3 people and is now going to pay for a whole bunch of other people with his tax money. I mean, that would make you mad enough to give up.
Yeah. So you vacationed regularly, you got a couple of shiny SUVs in your driveway, and you took out big loans. Those are decisions that normally, for the entirety of human history, people would say, well, your result is your result. Now, I don't have the time or energy to go through every decision you made. Did you buy those shiny new SUVs? Or did you live much more economically? Or did you do this? Did you go to a Hawaii vacation? Or did you drive to the lake? The point is you got more debt than you can handle. That's your problem. Good luck, chum. Now, it's the opposite. We will give you money no matter what your decisions are. But again, there's almost no reason to get this detailed about this discussion. It's handing people big checks so they'll vote a particular way. The parameters of it, the specifics of it, aren't really that important.
It's not going to work either. I don't think it's going to work either.
Oh, no, because Joe Biden is a miserable president and not a good human being.
And the young crowd feels like, first of all, I'm owed this. This is just the right thing happening. And you promised it would happen, and now it's finally happening. I thought you were going to screw me on this thing you promised me. You're committing a genocide in Israel, in Gaza, so I'm not voting for you. He's not even going to get any votes out of this.
Right. And then there's the $1 trillion being spent to fight climate change and how little voters care about that. We could get to that maybe on the other side of the break. The latest numbers, the climate change might be the most inflated concept, issue, cause of our lifetimes. The number of people who actually say, oh, yeah, I'm really concerned about this is vanishingly small. They're just in universities and newsrooms, period.
It's right up there with the concern about zoo animals going nuts during the eclipse and joining with household dogs and cats to take over America.
Leaping out of their cages and tearing out people's throats. All over the country. Run for your lives.
So we got all that stuff on the way. Stay with us.